this is Dr. C. Hope you're having a good day. Back to school pretty soon. So we want to talk a little bit about posture again. Now we have had a program on posture in the past and talking about different areas. So I wanted to emphasize the major posture problems that occur during the course of your life. So I'm talking to seniors mostly, because obviously it's a senior exercise program. But if you're younger, this is where you can prevent a lot of these things. So it's good for even the younger people to understand a little bit about your anatomy, about the muscles, what they can do, what they can't do, and how to prevent some of the problems. So what we're going to do is start at the top. We're going to work our way down. All the different major problems that can occur with your own anatomy. So starting at the top, as usual, we'll start at the top. What about these wrinkles? Now, why do we get wrinkles? How come the Orientals don't get wrinkles? Well, all of those who supposedly know more about it than we do say that it's because of the way we express ourselves. We tend to be very expressive with our faces and our hands, especially with our face. You can always tell. I always look somebody straight in the eye. I like to be with them just for a minute, and I can tell loads of things about them. And so that's why facial expressions, we tend to use a lot with our forehead. And so that's probably why when the elastic component under the skin, when that begins to deteriorate a little as we get older, and as the muscle shrinks a little bit, that's why we get the wrinkles. Okay, what do we do to try to prevent it? Well, number one, I like to have somebody put their hand right on their forehead, right over those wrinkles. Close your eyes so it's nice and flat. Okay. Now you can reopen your eyes. So now you got it nice and flat under your hand. You got to hold pretty firmly. Hold firmly. And now open your eyes wide as they can and down. Open. Close. Open. Close. Open. Close. One more. Open and close. Now, as long as you don't feel those wrinkles coming on underneath your hand, in other words, you got to be pretty firm, what you're doing is you're exercising actually not just the eyes, but also above where your hand is. So that's going to strengthen the muscle, it's going to contract a little and flatten some of those wrinkles. So that's a simple exercise way to get rid of those. What about all of the things on the side? All those little things on the side of the eye. I'm going to take my glasses off for this just for a brief moment. A couple things you can do. You use your opposite hand and put your opposite hand on the outside part of the eye, just like that. And what you're going to do is stretch the two fingers apart. Stretch them apart. Stretch them apart. Now, if you really want to get rid of some of those too, you stretch them apart and move it to the side. Stretch, move. Stretch, move. One more. Stretch and move. So obviously you do the same on the opposite side as well. So I'm going to get my glasses back on. Next thing we're going to talk about is droopy eyelids. Droopy eyelids. Now the droop may be due to some neurologic problem. Just like you get a neuropathy somewhere, you can get a deterioration of the nerve as well. That goes to the upper eyelid. How do you strengthen and move it up a little bit with exercise? Okay, show you very quickly. You take index finger, put it gently over the eyelid, just like that. And open the eye. You can't open it completely because you got your finger there. But you're exercising that lid. Exercising the lid all the time. Okay. What if it's not due to the lid itself? What if it's due to the eyebrows that are descending because of the laxity in the tissues? Well, in order to improve that, you don't even need to put your finger there. You just simply elevate them. Elevate them. Do 20 times. Elevation. Elevation. And make a game of it, because it can be a pain just to do the same thing over and over. You elevate the right, the left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So these are different ways of getting some strength back into the eyebrow area. What about the jowls? The jowls are loosened tissue on the sides. That can be here, extending down, or it can be under your chin. They call that a turkey neck, when you get that big chunk of flesh underneath the chin. You can do that two ways. Number one, you want to first stretch the muscle, because once you stretch it, then you can exercise it. So how do we stretch it? We stretch it, first of all, by first closing your mouth and blowing. Notice I'm blowing out the two sides, stretching that muscle. And you, again, make a game of it. You got to do it 20 times, so you may want to do one side, other side. So very simple, just using the force of the air on the inside to stretch the muscle. Another way you can stretch the muscle, keep your mouth closed and use your tongue. Now the tongue will coordinate a lot of things. It can do a lot of, it's a big, big muscular organ, that tongue. And so if you put the tongue to your palate, bring it right up, and at the same time, move your lips over your teeth. And then elevate your head. So we're going to do all three. First, lips over teeth, tongue up. Notice how it's pulling that tissue and strengthening that after you stretch it. The longer you can hold it, the better. It's good for strengthening as well. Okay, let's move on down, and we're going to talk about the neck. Now the neck has several muscles, big muscles in it, and we do our muscle exercises at the beginning of a lot of our exercise programs. So we're going to do a little bit this time as well, and then show you how to possibly strengthen that muscle that's right under the skin. It's attached, actually. That muscle is called the platysma muscle. So by strengthening that platysma muscle, you can actually shrink it a little bit and get it a little better on the neck. So first of all, let's do our neck exercises. Flexion and extension. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now turning to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, ear to shoulder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to rotate back one side, down and around. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go opposite direction. 1, 2, and 3. And now let's try to stretch that platysma. You're going to take your left hand, hold it to the right side of the face. Right arm out 45 degrees. Stretch that head over as that arm goes out. And hold it. Big breath in and out. And now we're going to take our right hand to the left side of the face. And out with that left arm, 45 degrees. As that goes out, we're pulling towards the right. Big breath in. And out. That helps with the platysma. And of course, that gets the sides of the platysma. That exercise we did with the tongue to the palate and the lips over the teeth and up, that's stretching all of the platysma in the front. If you want to stretch the platysma in the back, you simply do chin to chest. So you got to do that regularly, at least 10 times. But if you can do it 20 times, that's the ideal. Okay, let's work our way down. Shoulders. Common problem, slouch. Rounded shoulders. That's coming now in the younger people from looking at a screen all day long, or looking at their damn phone all day long. Well, nowadays you do just about anything with the phone, so that's going to lead to a slouch. Now, when I was in the grammar school, if anybody slouched, old Sister St. Luke came by with her big ruler and gave you a whack across the back of the head. You never did it again. Guaranteed. Just like all the boys had to have their hands on the desk. Why not the girls? I don't know. You had to have your hands on the desk. If they didn't, whack across the back of the hand. You never did it again. Hands were on the desk. They'd be in jail now, those poor nuns. But at any rate, we got to get back to what we were talking about, and that is our shoulders. Slouches. We don't want to slouch. Ideally, you want to have a nice straight back, straight neck, shoulders down, shoulder blades back. Okay. Looking straight ahead. Why? Because you breathe better when you're looking straight ahead. Make a big difference. For example, put your head down a little, looking down. Take a big breath in through your nose. And look straight ahead. Take a big breath in through your nose. What a big difference. Big difference in the volume of air that you're taking in. So, for your own sake, your own oxygen, looking straight ahead. Okay, let's now talk about not just the slouch, how do we treat that slouch? We do it rowing. We're grabbing that oar, pulling back, trying to touch those two shoulder blades together in the back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. That is the way that we want to strengthen those muscles. Stretch the front, strengthen the back. So you have a nice straight back and shoulders down and shoulder blades back. Okay, let's keep going. Apart from the slouch, what else can happen? As we get older, we can have pains in the old shoulder. A lot of times we don't know, so we call it a rotator cuff. How do we know it's a rotator cuff? There's 4 muscles that attach to the rotator cuff. 4. And so what are the function of those 4? I'll show you. Once you know the function of a muscle, now you know how to stretch it and how to exercise it. Very simple. Just have to know what they do. First of all, you put your elbows into the chest, hands straight ahead. Now, if you bring the hands in, you internally rotate the shoulder. That internal rotation is the subscapularis muscle and the teres minor muscle. So just moving it in. So if you move it in against a resistance, you're going to be doing a strengthening of that muscle, of those 2 muscles. Now, in other words, if you go the opposite direction, externally rotate, you're going to stretch it. Yes, very simple, okay? So if you externally rotate actively, now you're using a different muscle. Now you're using the infraspinatus muscle. Yes, infraspinatus muscle. That's the big one on the bottom of the shoulder blade down here. So that's the third muscle. The fourth muscle is suprascapular muscle. How do we exercise suprascapular muscle? Now, what we do with that is you just do a pendulum. A pendulum. You can either go in a circle. Notice I'm bending forward. Circle, circle, rotate the other way. Or you can go forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. So those are the four muscles that attach to the rotator cuff. They also attach to the bones too, because they got to have an attachment at both ends. So it attaches either to the actual shoulder blades itself or possibly the clavicle, the collarbone. So either one. And they all end up on the top of the humerus, which is the bone in the upper arm. So that's how that can open, close, forward, back. Okay. What other pains can you have in the shoulder? Well, you can have them as a result of an injury. You may have a bursitis. All of these major joints have a bursa, which contains some of the fluid that goes into the joint. You can get an irritation or inflammation of that fluid sac. Or you can get an injury, a little partial tear to one of the bigger muscles that cover all these. Three muscles. Number one, biceps, biceps. Number two, triceps. And number three, deltoid on the side. And you can get a problem with any of them. Again, knowing their function, you know how to stretch them and how to strengthen them. For example, biceps. We use the curls, simple curls. And I usually use light weights. And we just exercise with the light weights. In order to stretch the muscle, you hold it down. That stretches it. And this contraction now strengthens it. So what about triceps? Well, I like to use the triceps. A very simple one, of course, is just holding your arms up, bending them over. Now you see the triceps, and go up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, very simple. Of course, there are other things that we can do for the triceps if you really want to strengthen it, and that is moving yourself out and then doing a push-up with the feet out like that. So, now, what about the deltoid muscle? That big one on the side. That has 3 sections to it. A lateral section on the outside part, a front, and a back. So you got to exercise all 3. Now we do this again with light weights or with the bands, and we just go up. That gets the lateral part, the outside, the side part of the deltoid. And you do 3, 4, 5, just try to do 20. How do we get the front and the back? Front, you move them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the back, just the opposite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very simple. How do we exercise the muscles in the arm, the forearm? Hands out, palms down. Just rotate them up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Very simple. So you can also exercise those muscles with your fingers, because those muscles come down as tendons here and attach to the fingers. Now, how do you exercise the fingers? Simple. Out and in, or one by squeezing, making a fist, or out, one way or the other. Or you can do both, but that's the way you exercise those muscles. Let's work our way down. What about sagging? Let's say sagging breasts. Now, men get sagging breasts too, you know. So how do you tighten that? You got to tighten that pectoralis muscle. That's the one that comes across the chest like that. Now, if you're using weights and all, you're going to take the weights out to the side, bring them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's going to help strengthen. You can use your bands too. What I like to do with the bands, I'll take the band in the back of the chair itself, hold it with the other arm like that. So now, holding that out, you're pulling it, or hold it in the front, pulling that band, just like that. That will help to strengthen and hold up the sagginess in the top of the chest. What else now? Besides that, you can get the sides. They call them love handles. Okay, love handles. Hey, at 82, I don't need love handles. Let's face it. Okay, how are we going to get rid of those? It's right over the quadratus lumborum muscle. So we're going to elevate one arm, stretch one side, and at the same time, we're contracting the other. So you're exercising both sides. Stretching one, contracting the other. That's the quadratus lumborum. So we're going over. Just like that. And you should do, again, ideally, 20 of those. Those are not difficult. And it's a big muscle. That's a big muscle on the side. There are other big muscles on the side as well. For example, the trapezius muscle or the latissimus muscle. How do we exercise those? Well, we're going to exercise the top, the middle, and the bottom. Let's start at the top. How do we do that? We do that with a bow and arrow. Let's say we want to do this side. Okay, going to hold the left hand out, right hand, pull. Now you can really feel it in the back on this side. And 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you want to do the other side, and you should, don't only exercise the one side that's giving you trouble. Exercise both sides. Right arm out, and keep the arm up and pull it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, how do we do the middle? The middle, we do the rowing. In other words, hold on to the oars. Pull them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, how about the lower part? Separate your feet on the chair. Right hand goes to the inside of the left knee. Pull it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the other side, left hand inside of the right knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, what about the hips? A lot of people have trouble with their hip or knee, especially the knees as you really get older, depending on what you've done through your life and all. The hips do much better surgery on the hip than surgery on the knee. Not that they don't have material to do it. It's just that the rehabilitation is much, much tougher on the knee than it is with a hip surgery. So, at any rate, you try to avoid it if possible. You want to avoid it. And I'm talking as a surgeon, for God's sakes. Okay, how do we exercise our hips? Well, we're going to come a little forward on a chair again. We're going to do our right leg first. We're going to do a single leg pull. 1, 2, 3. Boom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Other side now. Left hand on the ankle, right hand on the knee. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now just that basic 1, 2, 3, if we do a simple thing where we go up, pull outward on the ankle and inward on the knee. Now you feel a pull in that pyramidalis muscle that's in the back. That's for people who get some sciatica around the back of the hip. So you go up and over, up, over, up, over, and up, over. Other side, we're going to go up, over, up, over, up, over. One more, up, over. Okay. Another way you can do that pyramidalis muscle stretch is simply putting the leg cross like that. Now, what does that do? Well, you can already feel that it's pulling in the back a little bit. So if you bend forward, now you really feel the pull. So that's pulling that pyramidalis muscle in the back. And so if you wanted to do this side, if that's where you have your problem, then cross the leg, ankle over the knee, and bend it over. Now you really feel it on that side. Very simple. Very simple. So what else can we do? We can do some general exercises. I love the swimming exercises for the shoulders. How do you do that? Overhand, overhand, over, 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 over. Notice we're getting a stretch with that as well. And we may even do backstroke. Back, 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 back. And breaststroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is a nice general exercise for the shoulders. And finally, we need to talk about what do we do if you're sitting too much. You get a dead butt. That's what they call it, a dead butt syndrome. And so what you do with that, basically, you got to think about the muscles in the back, the big ones, the gluteus muscle. What that does, it extends. You extend that gluteus muscle. So how do we extend it? Well, if you're standing, obviously, if you're standing and you got the chair in front, move it back and elevate it. 2, 3, 4, 5, that type of thing. Other leg, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the other gluteus muscle pulls it to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last one, leg goes back and we do fire hydrant. 2, 3, 4, 5. And other side, bend the knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And down. Okay. So I think we've run out of our time. I apologize. We went pretty fast, and it might have been a little fast for you to be doing the exercises, but you can always get a tape of the exercise and use it and do it daily. This is Dr. C. Have a nice day.